Hey, we're live. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Fantastic, Dan. Good to see you.
Let me hit the last couple buttons I got to watch here.
All right.
Okay, there you go. Get rid of that Red Bull commercial. Again, top-notch production as always.
Working out all the bugs. I don't know how you do it.
I make it up as I go along. How you doing, Steve?
Doing well. I'm doing well. Did we talk last Saturday, or did
We did not. I was in Vegas.
You got sidetracked by. I know you can't talk about what happened.
Of course I can. I went to Vegas because a friend of mine has Raiders season tickets. So I went to go see the Raiders Jets game. The wife and I flew out, spent a couple days out there. I re-energized my creative batteries. So yeah, it was just a little quick holiday vacation.
What was it about traveling? What was it about being away from your studio, about being away from D&D and away from tabletops and being in the outside of it for a couple of days that recharged you? You were hungry to get back?
Very hungry to get back. I mean, it was like day one. I'm sitting at a blackjack table with my buddy, and we're playing blackjack. And I go, I didn't even bring any work with me this weekend. I'm just, chilling and re-energizing. And he was like, good. And then the lady playing next to me, who I didn't know, she goes, Dad, never bring your work to Vegas. And I go, my work is Dungeons and Dragons, so it's not real work.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so anything exciting happened to you last weekend?
I finished shipping out everything of Death Dealing. So the last piece went out the door, which was great. Except for, again, anyone who's done crowdfunding knows that there's a survey process, and the survey kind of is dependent on people telling you where they live, where to mail stuff, things like that, and not just waiting for credit cards to get processed and stuff like that. But there's always and depending on the number of people who backed your campaign, it seems to be a percentage. So the bigger the campaign, the more people more stragglers there are.
Right.
And so I have a couple stragglers, and so apart from them, everything is shipped. I did notice I had a glitch in my production. A glitch in my production is like way loftier language. I screwed up. We unlocked a stretch goal of a bonus sticker. So there's a sticker that's in it, and there was going to be an extra sticker, and I didn't include it. I include it with some of the packages, but not others, because I didn't do them all in one straight shot. That sticker there, but the sentient flagon was the very last stretch goal. So the little walking flagon dude. And so, I don't know, 2/3 of the time, my little production setup, because it's a table that I have here that I use for lots of stuff. And so when it's time to start doing shipping, everything comes off that table, all this production stuff. Okay, I've got my bubble wrap, I've got my boxes, I've got my tape, I've got the books and the various things. And I, referenced who gets what, put everything together. And for some reason, that never made it on the inventory list because everybody gets one. Well, I put it on the list. And so half the time, maybe I didn't do it. So I had a couple of solutions. And I think the main thing I had to do was what I've learned from some of the other Kickstarters who have screwed up and haven't really owned it, is you just own it. I screwed up, and how can I make this right? So I made it, and how can I give them, because I screwed up, how can I make it better? So what I did was I said, okay, anybody who ordered physical stuff, here's a link and a coupon code to my website. You get your pick of a sticker. So you don't get just the Intoximancer's flag. And if you backed Intoximancy before, you already have it. So if you want a different sticker, now you have your choice of 5, and you get free shipping. And because I don't understand WooCommerce enough to have free shipping work on some objects and not others, fine. Everyone gets free shipping on whatever they order. So if you wanted books, you get free shipping. So it ended up being like a real perk for them. And the people who pointed out were they were very appreciative, because I think there's a lot of ways I don't know, I think maybe bigger producers might not have the customer care. Again, so much corporate garbage talk.
Yeah.
But, these guys are my lifeblood, these backers. So I have to take care of them. So it's just a different, I don't know. I think I handle it right, I think. And so people have been ordering them. Not everybody wants a sentient flagon, so it worked out. It seemed to be a mix. That's the most popular one, but people are choosing some of the other ones. So, and a couple other orders came in, so I'm happy to mail those out without charging for shipping. So that's good.
All right. Well, don't worry about my sticker. I'm okay.
Oh, and I think that some people have done that too. People are like, well, no, it's a sticker. Some people are like, I don't want to. So that's part of it. I mean, you can look at it. You can look at it in a mercenary way, like, okay, I promised to give everybody else an extra postcard, and some people are like, I'm not going to fill out a form for a postcard, right? And so, okay, you don't, as a producer, you don't have to produce as many. You take care of everyone who wants to be taken care of, and the people who don't care. I don't want one more damn sticker. That stretch goal was something I never cared about. They're like, forget about it, and saves you a stamp. Because the alternative choice would be just to mail everybody a sticker, whether they got one or not. And I'm like, so there's a couple of different ways to go. I kind of feel like this was the right way to go. And probably I encourage other people to think about it when they screw up.
Right. No, I'm dealing with, here, I got this right here. I'm trying to get my last Kickstarter fulfilled, the Star Marshal comic book, right? Now, originally I did a test run, and I really liked how it came out. But then I added the extra 8 bonus pages, and it's the same printing, but it's just not as good. The borders aren't as wide, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it changed. And then the extra added pages kind of got lighter, and so I'm working on my end. I don't know if it was a printer end problem or my end problem. I don't know. I'm going with this printer because I can print small amounts, because this Kickstarter wasn't successful enough to warrant huge, 1,000 print copies.
Right.
But so I'm trying to decide if it's just the name, if it's just the way the name of the game with when you do that sort of small print runs is every print run's different.
Right. Because it's kind of handmade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if I screwed up with the second file somehow. So I'm dealing with that issue, and hopefully I'll have that finalized this weekend so I can get it, but not, I'm to the point now. I'm like, do I look for another printer, or do I run another proof, or do I, send in a file and assume I fixed it correctly? Cause the delay's been delayed enough.
It's such a beast, because you want to be creative, and no one could have been more prepared than you for this, because your book was done before the campaign launched. And the idea that it's all these production hassles and all this other part you have to know to be an indie publisher, got to know about printing specs and bleeds and margins and all this stuff.
Because when I did the first run, it turned out so beautiful. I'm like, this is great. Excuse me. I'll just add the 8 bonus pages to the end of the initial file I sent, and boom. But nope, something screwed up somehow, some way.
Wow. I don't know if you can hear in the background. My cat is. I don't. Was the microphone picking that up? My cat is in the background.
A little bit. But then I got my big dog clumping around my hardwood floor. So
I think my cat's antsy. I'm excited to see the book. I'm sorry you get the production problems. I'm happy to help look at the files if you want a second set of eyes to look at them. But odds are, if did you build them in InDesign or something?
Oh, no. I'm not that fancy. But, it's just the PDF file, and the PDF that I sent looked fine. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know that cartoonist Rick Veitch, he produces he lays out all his books in like pages, like in the word processing program on a Mac. Yeah. So it's just like JPEG or TIFF all the way down, and the books print great. So there's a ton.
That's basically how I do it. I just, I take the TIFFs, compile them into a single PDF, and send it off, because they only use a PDF with this printer.
Right.
So I don't know. So I'll work on that this weekend. So if anybody, look, the book's here. It's just not. I'm just not pleased with enough to send it out.
Well, that's good. That standard's good. I've definitely been in that position. It's a Bear, one of the print-on-demand companies, Lightning Source, which is part of Ingram Spark.
Yeah,
they're often used for soft covers and hardcover books, and their quality control isn't great.
No,
again, it's all artisanal. It's all handmade, by people who aren't paid enough in an assembly line. They're trying to glue these, essentially the covers of books tend to be large. They're basically large stickers that get applied to chipboard, and maybe they're off by a degree. So what? And on the spine of the book, that means the text is like everyone's looking at the book a little bit like, the Dutch angle of the Batman movie. It's annoying, but I can't mail those to people, and it's within their margin of acceptability. So I can send them photographs, and only the ones that are the most egregious, like when the spine type, which I've built to their specs, is on the front or back of the book. Only then do they replace them, but otherwise, no, it's fine. And so I have like irregulars, like the kind of stuff you'd sell at a third-hand store. Every time I go to the donation, drop off stuff to the local Goodwill or animal shelter for raising money, a couple of irregular books, stuff I can't mail to my customers because that's just below my standard.
Could you Mark Miller that and just put it in a beer box and bring it to a show and just let people?
Yeah, I absolutely could. When I do local events, I do have stuff like, and part of it was like, I forget who it was. It was Tom Zoller, I think, who said, I said, I've got some of these ones, or I pulled one out. I had a box of books directly from the printer, and 2 or 3 of them were off. I'm like, I just put them under the table. I can't sell these things. He said, you should sell them. Just mark them down. Instead of $25, make them 15. And I offered, I said, someone wanted to buy a book. I said, well, I got this one for 15. And they're like, oh yeah, cheaper. I'll take it. There's anyone who just wants the content. They don't care about the package. They're not like, they don't want to put it on the shelf for display. They just want the guts.
And that $15 bought you a convention pretzel.
Yeah. Or half of one.
No, I mean, so I'll work on that. I'll get that out because I want to get this out the door before the end of the year. I want, that there's going to be a Christmas miracle, but that's, working on that and everything,
And is a printer doing the fulfillment on those?
I was going to, but now I'm just going to do it.
Okay.
Because I didn't sell enough to warrant to pay the extra for them to do it.
Gotcha.
So I can just do it all, and I mean, seriously, if once all the books are here sitting down one day, I'll have them all out the door and gone.
That's great.
Maybe during my kids' winter break, and Jean Louise can help me out.
Can script her into service.
Yeah. Little child slave labor. So nothing wrong with that.
Family business.
It's
Work on a family farm.
She's my kid. I own her, so I can just,
or vice versa.
Yeah, that's the truth. No problem. No lie there. So that takes care of fulfillment woes on Kickstarters. Let's talk about your next Kickstarter, because now that everything is out, I noticed the landing page, the coming soon page is up for your book.
Yeah, I've had it posted for a while, but I haven't talked too much about it because part of it was the thinking. Part of the thinking was I don't want to rub salt in the wounds of anyone who's like, where's my book? I feel like a lot of Kickstarter companies, once you're a big enough company, once you're Hasbro, once you're Rocket Ship, guys like that who have like a Kickstarter every month, there's no way for them to have fulfilled. They're not behind, but they've promised they're soliciting stuff now for 2024, the end of 2024, maybe 2025. They're going to have a lot of Kickstarters between now and there. Nothing there is late. It's all just they've got one Kickstarter after another.
That's their business model.
So, but for me, it's more like I've set it up so that stuff gets delivered before the next Kickstarter. So I can't start the next Kickstarter if the delivery of the previous thing is late. I can't launch the other one. And I feel like that's a responsible way as an indie creator, because if I had 4 or 5 lined up or queued up, that would be a mess. So the new one is Prayer's Handbook. It's the Metadomain Cleric. We've talked about it here a bit. And I've had that page up for maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks. And it's slowly, and I mentioned it once or twice. We talked about that before, about the idea of just hitting people again and again with reminders. Scrolling here at the bottom.
Yeah, Prayer's Handbook.
.com. that just hitting people again and again on social media has diminishing returns, rapidly diminishing returns. So I've tried not to mention it too much, but yesterday we were so close to 250 people.
I was 250.
Fantastic. I would just want to crest that little hill, and
you're 252 now.
Oh really? That's excellent. And I have to, and part of it is like, now that I have artwork to show, and it's hard because, like, I'm sure you feel it, like you get a piece of artwork in and you're like, man, I want to show this immediately. I want the likes right now. But it's like, no, I'm sitting on all this stuff, and when the campaign gets closer and closer, I'm going to reveal more and more of it. And that stuff's the stuff I'm going to hold on to when the campaign is live. Because again, once a campaign launches and you're just sitting there going, what more can I do? What more can I do? What more can I do? Like, okay, I've got some stuff. I can show people some artwork they haven't seen before. That's not the same as repeating myself. And that's the main thing. So you can repeat you can repeat the pitch, but not the main message. I think a different ad every time, not the same ad people have seen before. So here's a different piece of artwork. But you also have a placeholder, a new a coming soon page, right?
For the 4d20system.com, as you'll see scrolling on the bottom of the screen there. Yeah, this is it's still 150 some odd days away, because hopefully it's going to launch on April 20th, as I calculate in my head the months. So yeah, April 20th will be the launch of the 4D20 system. I had, actually during my little Vegas break, even though I didn't bring any work with me, it didn't mean I stopped working in my head. So I had a breakthrough on the system that was
Really?
kind of a hot hurdle. So I got that worked out. So that's coming right along. So yeah, I don't have 250. I think I got maybe 6.
But but the system tells you how many you have.
Yeah, it definitely tells me how many I have. And so it's there, 4D20 system. You can say I want to go use backer kit for this one. Just because I haven't yet, and let's see how it goes for the most part.
We heard good things about backer kits promo. Is that what they called it? During the Zine event at GameholeCon.
Yeah.
I forget what they called it. It was called backer kit. They said it was like $100, and they recommended it highly as just a promotion. I know you're using it soup to nuts, using it for the landing page. The campaign's going to run on BackerKit. You'll do your surveys and all that stuff on BackerKit. But they just talked about what seemed like a plug and play promo. I forget remember what they called it?
I can't remember, and I haven't activated or used that yet. So in fact, you just reminded me of that. So I'll have to check it out.
Well, they said it was like $100.
Yeah.
And they said it was worth it. And they specifically did RPG zines. So I love that. And they talked a bit about the how good BackerKit is about contacting your mailing list. If someone who's backed it, they're not going to hit them again. Right. 100 people and 50 back, those 50 people don't get another message, but all the other ones do get reminders. There's definitely there's a couple of BackerKit projects that I keep getting reminders for. So now I know that's how it works. Because I think if I had already backed it.
So look, there we go. Snoop Dogg might be calling it quits, but we're just getting started. Because you heard that, right? Snoop Dogg says he's not smoking anymore.
What?
Yeah. So
what?
That he tweeted that or X'd it on Thursday.
All right.
So of course I created a little image and put it on Twitter with it tagging him, see if that generates anything or gets me a cease and desist that I like to collect.
That's I had not heard that. That's crazy. That is like, I don't know.
That's like finding out that your heroes are just mere mortals.
Well, I can't think of a person and a product. Calling a product's not right, but that are so closely associated with one another that are almost synonymous with each other.
He said he's quitting smoking, so I don't know if that means he's just going to move to edibles.
Okay. Yeah, it's like the Pillsbury Doughboy, giving up carbs.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't know.
So there you go. So Snoop may be on the wagon, but we're not.
Fantastic.
So that was also a lot of research in Vegas.
I saw that there was a Facebook group you alerted me to. I had no idea about that zine RPG.
Oh, that's where Levi and all the Skeeter and a bunch of people that we met at GameholeCon are on there.
No idea about that group, but you were sharing something about someone who's promoting something. I guess they're getting way ahead of their Zine Quest writing, which is terrifying that 2024 is so close and that Zine month is so close. But I don't know. It seems like I'm going to be. I will be launching a Prayer's Handbook this month, and it will run through pretty much the end of December. So I know that's not a great month for RPG stuff. I knew a couple of others that are starting during that time, possibly Matt Colville's, possibly a Ghostfire Gaming one. They're going to do one for Magic Shops. They had a lot of luck with their Taverns book, and so now they're doing one where it's all just Magic Shops, the vendors who work in those Magic Shops. And it's really interesting that these bigger productions, how much they involve other people. Like they said, Ginny D's creating a character, and I guess James Hake is creating a character. All these different, they're creating a retailer. So it's stuff like that. Have you ever thought about doing that? Like, I mean, I know you're building your network of people within the RPG space. Have you thought about bringing people in to write chapters or create characters or do stuff like that? Or
and then I would have to be in charge of other people.
I thought you liked that.
No, just in charge of you. No, that's like one of the reasons why I quit being an editor with IDW. You know, I'm wrangling, I'm controlling everything else, and I'm not being able to be the creative person on it.
Gotcha.
So, and then I would have to, and honestly, I don't feel like my products aren't to the level, either audience size or quality size. I think to, charge the prices that I would require to be able to afford the writers and talent, the, money that they're deserved.
Well, I from what I hear, the rates in the RPG space are pretty low compared to the artists you hire. They might actually be a deal.
I don't want to contribute to that though,
Yeah. I feel like you could pay twice as much and be like, a hero. He's paying 10 cents a word.
And I like doing the writing part. The artist, I go out and, and I got artist friends who give me friend rates, which I'm very appreciative of. Or I use a lot of stock art or, commercial free art and manipulate it and modify. I don't do AI generated stuff.
Good.
But we'll go find a piece. I say that looks perfect, except let me just change this color or let me add a horn to this guy's head. And,
right.
Yeah.
There's for the Prayer's Handbook, it's a cleric subclass, and each one of the subclasses I've done so far, subclass is like half a page of text. So to fill a 32-page book with a subclass requires padding or fluff. Yeah. Or in this case, they get a magic item that levels up with them. And my goal with all these magic items was to fill in the gaps of the leveling process. So it's not just, hey, you gained a level, you get 5 hit points. It's not, that's like, oh, that's kind of anticlimactic. Or, you get closer to the level up that you really want. So these magic items level up with you. They start weak, but you also get to choose as like a decision tree for the most part, where you get to say, okay, at this level, it gains this ability among a choice of 4 abilities, that sort of thing. But you get a magic book. So all the illustrations are people with magic books. And I had a bunch of credits on Adobe Stock, which I was trying to get rid of because I wanted to cancel my plan with Adobe Stock. And if you cancel the plan, your credits go away. So I had like 60 credits from this mapping project, freelance, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm going through there trying to find anything of people holding books. And I found one, and it was like a wizard, almost a wizard. He had a beard, long hair, robes, clutching with both hands a tome. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely the source material that I'm going to start with, right? This will be my reference for drawing something else. And I'm working on it. And then I'm flipping through Apple TV for different movie options. I see a movie that documentary someone's put together about Nostradamus, and there's the photo. It is like, there he is. And that's like the downside of using the stock art, is that I just know I'm going to see it someplace else. And if I don't change it enough, it's just going to look like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, is that related to Steve's project in some way? So
And a lot of a lot of artists sell their stock art for role playing games. Like Dean
Right.
Spencer's an artist who I've used his stuff, and but I just got to accept the fact somebody else is going to use it as well.
Is there any kind of limitation? I know over in the book world, in the like in the indie publishing book world, a designer will create a cover and say this is a one-off that you can buy from my website for 50 or $100. Is that sort of like the thing where you buy it once and no one else can have it, or is this more like
No, anybody can use this. Yeah,
this is clip art? So the cover of your book. So if I go into Drive Through RPG, I might see multiple books with the same cover artwork.
Art, yeah, but like I will also try to go. If it says use this as a cover, I'm like, well, I'm not going to use that as a cover. I will use that as an interior page, and I will use this spot illustration for cover and embellish around it.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
But yeah, there's one artist who I just saw a illustration he did, and I go, that would be an awesome cover. So I came up with an idea just to utilize that cover.
That's
just
great.
use that artwork as a cover. And okay, so the cover's designed for this book. I just have no time or to work on that project right now, so it's off, filed away for a later day. Hopefully,
That's great. That's like the old pulps.
Yeah,
where here's this artwork's done. Who wants to write a story?
And that's like I'm working on a thing. Like I told you, I think we talked about earlier, where with Zine Quest coming up, I looked and saw that Quest Zine was available as a .com, so I bought it. So I'm going to have a zine called Quest. Boom, simple enough.
You are gonna have a zine for if you are gonna do something for Zine Quest.
Maybe I might run it at the same time, but maybe I won't use Kickstarter. I don't know. I'm still playing around with
it. The Zine Quest that's Kickstarter's exclusive. So you're right. So Zine Quest is Kickstarter's a kind of exclusive one. Maybe, kind of. But Zine Month, Zine Mo?
Quest Zine.
But no, but I mean, I've seen that.
Month.
I've seen that hashtag. Yeah.
So, like, let me show you the cover. Let's see. I can look at this. I can do this. Doom. One quick second. Let me see. And again, this is my old weird art program that I use, so don't cringe.
No, I know people use. I know a lot of people don't use the latest Adobe software because of the monthly charge.
Yeah.
A lot of people who keep their operating system running from like 2005, they don't want to change a thing. I know a guy who does work for Pixar who wanted to use.
There we go.
Stuff. Well, that's fantastic. That's an amazing piece.
So I found this illustration that's only about this big. I put more orange on the top because orange is my color.
I'm not seeing your cursor. I don't think. Am I? Because you say this big.
Oh, you're not seeing the cursor on it? I don't know.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so this is going to be, if I do it, this is the cover of the first issue of Quest Zine, that empty space right here. I can say includes new monsters, new spells, new magic, and just throw it out there. And then, the next, if I do it quarterly, maybe, I'll just find an illustration that inspires me and I'll set it up. And what I'm using, and then what I'm doing is,
and when did you pose for that?
When did I what?
When did you pose for that illustration?
Yeah. And then I found now this isn't AI. This is a random map generator, So I figure I'll just pull up a couple. So I'm going to create the adventures based on these random maps that I created. And
gotcha. I think I've heard about this one. I remember somebody there's a person who was doing handmade maps, and then someone came up with this generator that does exactly what.
This looks a lot like a Dyson map.
Exactly like a Dyson map. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to do a couple, and I did a couple maps, and so this whole zine I'm putting together is based on an image for the cover and a handful of random maps that I created, and then I'll work around. I'll use those as my, base or my frame to create an adventure or to create a quest, so to speak. Make sense?
Does indeed. It does indeed. So how many pages do you think this is?
About 20.
So a simple,
Yeah.
the cover looks great. That's an excellent piece of artwork. And where, and is that artist who made that? Do they have other pieces that you can, basically line up your covers for the next year?
Nothing else really fit, so every cover will look different.
Gotcha.
Type of thing. But yeah, and it's not, I pay a monthly service to be able to go and find, artwork that's commercial to use, and boom.
And you're happy with it? You're happy with the service? That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So, and again, it saves me time. It saves me money, and it saves me time from trying to find an artist.
Right.
And, and this way, and again, we're talking about roaming the labyrinth of creativity and Muses. A piece of artwork will inspire me to create something for it.
Sure.
And that's the spark. So, and that's part of the fun adventure for me.
And I've talked about AI a lot, mostly how it's damaging to young artists, and how any of that stuff that auto-generates stuff is, like the map maker, how that's basically certainly bad for dice and maps. My hope is that companies that do use it, and I do know that in terms of AI, I know BackerKit's actually much tougher than, they've taken a harder harder stance than Kickstarter has, and I applaud them for that. But I hope that those who do use it, and I have seen folks on Kickstarter who had used it, Kickstarter's policy is just label it as such so people know. It's kind of GMO labeling. That I'm hoping those companies can grow to the point where they don't use that stuff. Part of it is like the only reason to use is money. Like if you had the budget, you would hire artists to hand make everything for you, but you just don't have it yet because you're a startup. And so I feel like that's the hope, is that anyone using it doesn't use it forever. I hope if it is a crutch, that it.
Well, and Dyson offers some of his artwork for commercial use.
Right.
And I've used that before too. But of course, again, other people have used it as well. But this, like, as a map generator, it's been around. I don't see, and you may argue with me it's AI art, but I see it as just a sort of a, not necessarily, because I wouldn't. I'm not making sense.
I don't know if he calls it that. I don't know if the Dyson folks call it that. I do know that Dyson felt like they were kicked in the nads when that thing came out. But because I think it was clearly inspired by their work. You know what I mean? It's like you should. Oh yeah, it looks just like Dyson. I mean, it's the but no, I don't put that in the same category, because I don't think that's the same category. I mean, I'm thinking about the budget considerations of using stock art, which again, I did that with using Adobe stock photos, using a stock photo and using it as the basis of my reference. In a perfect world, I would have hired a model. They would have this would have been like Norman Rockwell. Okay, stand there, or the Hildebrands. They stand around, or hell, Parkinson and Caldwell and all them putting a pot on their head and wrapping a beach towel around themselves, and now that's a cape, and they want photo reference for their paintings. Ideally, photographing your friends and doing all that stuff is the starting point. It's a thing where, in a perfect world, you'd find a way to create whole cloth new from the ground up. But we're building these in our second bedrooms. It's like we're not Hasbro. That's why when Hasbro does it, or when Disney does it with their Secret Invasion, it's like that's the real threat, is because we're not screwing young creators, right? We're not robbing people,
right?
And also, when you license that cover, that's a totally different thing.
Yeah,
that's someone made that to be licensed.
Yeah, and they got money for it,
right? You're helping them out. You're doing exactly what the artist wants. So that's what I like about what you do, and also the artists you pay to create all the artwork. I wasn't trying to say that's what you're doing. It's just saying that's what it's when we do talk about that kind of thing, that it is nice. My hope is that people are using it as a way forward to when they get to be the size of Goodman Games, that they don't rely on that stuff anymore. I'm really impressed by some of the covers that Levi has been sharing that he has commissioned from people. He had one where it's got like a Yeti on top of a hill.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing piece. It's ridiculous. It's so good. It's so good. Do you know any? Have you worked with any painters for any of your covers or projects?
No, not. I mean, I can't afford it. So,
do you have a preference for the style of artwork? I mean, I love that kind of travel poster style of that zine cover. That's awesome.
The travel poster. I think it works because it's a quest. It's you're traveling, so that's what it popped to me, and I will probably look for that kind of artwork.
And it's so distinct. It's different. It's like it's so separate. It's got the way Morkborg is separate. Like you can tell from 20 yards that's a Morkborg product. That cover on that for Quest Zine, 20 yards away, you're like, oh wow, that's different.
And then, but also every book every Morkborg product that's come out from other publishers have emulated the Morkborg look.
Right.
I mean, almost exclusively. There's no different looking, there's a Morkborg title, but it looks way different.
Right.
So I don't know.
Like, do you think that so you think that the hint at the thing make sure that people who are Morkborg fans can tell that this is a Morkborg product. I think that's why you would even emulate it. It's not just that you like the look of it, but you want customers. Is that confusion in the marketplace? Or is it's basically saying that this fits with what you've already purchased?
Yes and no. Exactly. I kind of think, because there's our 5th edition books that don't look exactly like Dungeons and Dragons. There's a lot of stuff that looks exactly like Dungeons and Dragons.
Absolutely.
But there's stuff that doesn't. But like with Morkborg stuff, it all looks like it came from the same designer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except instead of yellow and black, let's use purple and orange, or let's,
Right.
So just something I've noticed. So
for Quest Zine, is that going to be I keep saying platform? Is it going to be system specific? Is it going to be a 5e thing?
Probably, just because I know 5e.
Gotcha.
I'm not looking to, it's hard enough trying to come up with something completely, and it's not even completely. I would say the 4D20 system has 40% D20 in it,
Right.
But I don't, I think I'm not looking to get the biggest audience. Like, I'm not going to say use this for any fantasy setting.
Right.
If you play 5e, you might like to use this. I don't need to get the biggest audience possible.
So when you saw that cover, that image, that poster style, that travel poster style image, did that immediately write a story to go with it, or is that more like that just captures the spirit of what I want this zine to be? Is it going to be a single adventure? Is it going to be a series of?
No, the plan is to do a single adventure an issue.
Gotcha.
And then so originally and then I went to, I randomly generated a village. I'd say, okay, the basis is you start in the small village and the quest is to save this village. And then I'm like, so you got a quest to find these items. Well, let's, how about if you go into crypts? Okay, so I generated 4 random crypts. And then I'll work from there on and just see, And I went map. No, I don't like that one. No, I don't like that one. No, oh, that one's small enough. I can, type of thing. But I have no idea specifically what the exact adventure is at this point.
Gotcha. So you're kind of finding your way through it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. It's very. I don't know what. Yeah, the old Marvel. I came up with a Stan Lee paragraph, give it to the artist, he draws a page, and then I go in and add all the juicy bits.
Right. That's fun. And so how much of 4D20 or even this Quest Zine, Let's say those are the next two things. I'm not sure if those are the next two things on your plate.
I don't know. I'm not sure either.
How much do you want to have done before the campaign launches? Enough to build the campaign page for sure, right? You need to have, like, I imagine if there's like a, too much coming soon on the campaign page is like a red flag.
I want it all done.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, when is Zine? February?
February.
Yeah, this should be, it's an easy little 20-page adventure. No big deal. I could probably write it.
No big deal.
I could write it in a weekend.
That's awesome.
And then I've got 150 days or so to get 4D20 done. Amazing.
I'm terrified of how little time there is. And you're like, oh, let's knock it out on the weekend. You're you got that pulp ethos that kind of like, a weekend. I got a whole weekend to do this thing.
Yeah. Because my day job is mindless work. So I'm working on all this stuff in my head while I'm at my day job.
And so this stuff's coming through, is racing through. Do you like have a notepad on your phone?
I got a little notebook on my desk or my table at work, and I just write random notes, and people will come and look at it and go, what the hell is this going on?
Quest zine? What's that? Yeah. That's awesome.
Like when I was charting my theological map of the deities that I use in all my D&D games, I was just drawing sketches, and it looked quite demented at first, but
that's excellent.
Yeah. And then I just come home at night and, put it into the computer. And
all right, let's talk about mazes and muses and misses. How do you in your relationship, how much of this stuff that you're talking about here finds its way back into the conversation at the dinner table? Or is it like, this isn't going to make any sense? Or how much of I'm bursting to tell somebody about this, but no one at this table is going to understand a word I'm saying? Is there any of that? Or do you just like, okay, I'm going to wait till Saturday and talk to Steve?
I talked to you about it. My lovely wife has no fucking clue what I do.
I wonder about that, because there are I know Jackie Estrada had a book of like the cartoonists and their spouses and partners, and how they have, I often wondered about, so much of this stuff is just so bonkers, or it's so deep in the weeds of like, okay, I've come up with this new mechanic for how to do this thing. I'm like, I don't know. I could barely explain it to my D&D group, let alone anyone who doesn't play.
Yeah, no, I mean, the wife has no idea. I've got my buddy Jesse at work. He plays D&D, so I bounce ideas off of him.
That's great.
So I get to work. I work with Jesse, my intern. He's not my intern at work. He's my intern for Zero Level Media in Catacombs of Comedians. He's actually my boss. But yeah, I can bounce off ideas with him, and then I talk to you on the weekends and say, hey, this is what I'm working on.
That's great.
And if it sticks till next weekend, we'll talk about it again. Otherwise, I've moved on to another project.
I love that. I love it. Have you, ask about that. Because I see that often you'll be like, okay, here's this thing you posted on social media. Is there an archive of announced projects that are still kind of like in the coming soon stage, that are like, you said, here's this thing that's going to happen, and you said it back in 2018, and it's like, man, it's still got to happen. But you were so excited about the poster that you showed. I always worry sometimes that I'm showing the artwork too soon.
Well, that's, I kind of use, I'll go back and scroll through my history going, what have I not done? Hey, that was a pretty good idea. I should revisit that one.
Do you do that sometimes?
Yeah, totally.
Well, and how much of social media is, because this is an interesting thing that our mutual friend Cave Geek Art over on Twitch shared. He was a Humans of New York piece. And it was about a person saying that basically rejecting social media because they found that the social media was changing who they are as a person, not just in terms of, coarsening language and angering, like it's supposed to, but in terms of as a creator, that you would create content, and that the things that got the best response, you would do more of that. And they didn't know if it's, how much of that is people liking it, how much of that is people seeing it because the algorithm has just shown it to more people. Like if the algorithm suddenly showed one thing you did and it's not your usual shtick, and shows it to 10 times, 100 times as many people, suddenly gets infinite more likes, infinite more shares. And you're like, wow, I should do more of that because it clearly resonates. Does it resonate, or does the algorithm
All right.
exaggerate
And by
and
no means
pull us in directions?
am I knocking any artist or writer, you know, but I'm not that self-righteous and that self, you know, concerned where it's changing me as an artist. As a creator, I created 4 items to be consumed. That's how I look at it. And if the audience, and not, so I'll throw something, a wild idea, I make a neat little image of it and throw it out there. And if it gets a lot of nibbles and a lot of bites, okay, then I will go that direction. I will let the algorithm take me in its jet stream and move me along in that direction, as opposed to, by no means is Quest Zine anything I have to get out. It's no story, or it's no element in me that's saying I must share this. It's like, I'm going to take Kickstarter's Zine Quest, flip the words, and hopefully get 2 more bites because somebody gets it confused.
So it's not. So it isn't. People talk about that, there's this. But that's so interesting. Self-righteous. That the idea.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, because a lot of these, because like I take Mark Twain for example. Everybody, he was a great writer. He
not,
was
not familiar. Not familiar.
You should maybe check
I'll
out
Google. I'll Bing him later.
Samuel Clemens. Just check. But I mean, you can't argue the stuff that he wrote, and it's a classic. I mean, people have Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court, all sorts of great, fun, entertaining, and thoughtful works. But I read something once where, where's your inspiration for this? And it was, I got to pay rent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm more of that kind of guy, a creator. Instead of working in a coal mine, I would rather make D&D content.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. To me, the paying rent part is always that's the thing that gets it done. That's not the thing that inspires it, though, right? Like that's the thing that says, well, I have to finish this if I want to live indoors.
Well, yeah, and also, but the stuff I create, very rarely have I created something where I hope this moves you.
Very rarely.
Yeah, I've never created anything. I've never set out to create something where I'm like, I hope someone is inspired by this, or it moves them, or this is a feeling that I want to get across, or this is my belief that I want to get across.
Really,
I just want the reader or customer, the end user, to get my item that I create and go, that is neat. I like this, but that's it. I don't want them to, I'm not a poet. I'm not. I'm not going to ever create a song that's going to move someone to tears, or I'm not going,
you're not going to, you don't want to.
It's not my goal.
You're not interested.
If it happens, it happens, like if somebody read Superhero Happy Hour and was, this, I understand what Dan is saying here. There's his underlining message about, how, alcohol abuse can affect our society and creating and safety. None of that.
Are there themes to your work that you've injected, or are there themes that, if the themes exist, it's only what the reader brings to it?
Only what the reader brings to it. I don't set out with a theme.
Interesting.
For anything other than have a good time.
That's interesting. That's
Enjoy
really interesting.
And a lot of times I will discover the theme after I've created something. But I'm not a heavy guy. I'm not a, okay. I did Donald of the Dead when, Trump was first running for president, and it was at their Republican convention, and he turns everyone into zombies. Yes, I'm obviously saying something there, but I'm more or less going, Donald the Dead's a good title. I should use it for a zombie thing about Donald Trump.
There's a lot of creators I know who are almost like idea factories, where And I feel like there's a borderline here with what you're doing, where it's like, I have this idea for a thing, I'm going to make it, and let's see if it clicks. And if it clicks, great, I'll do more of it. And if it doesn't click, I'll create another thing.
I'm a lot like that. Yes.
Yeah. It's like, we'll keep throwing things at the wall until it sticks. Whereas I'm absolutely the other way. I'm absolutely this kind of thing where, and I was talking with a friend of mine, cartoonist, and I'm like, he was basically saying, you know, people get all these emotional about when they're writing. I'm like, I am literally crying when I'm writing my stories. I'm like, if I'm not feeling what the characters are supposed to be feeling, I'm not saying I'm not like my dad died bawling, but I'm like, I'm getting choked up. I'm like, if I'm writing this in a coffee shop, I'm getting self-conscious about being emotional in public. But I'm feeling what the character's feeling as I'm writing it. Do you get there? Is that a state you find yourself in? I know I'm emotionally, I'm overtuned, like too badly. But do you find yourself when you're writing that you get there, or is that a thing that's like, that doesn't come up? It's not a thing.
That's weird that you say that. I mean, I'm a very emotional guy too. I cry at all the Planet of the Apes movies, not the old ones, but the new ones. Literally, just tears the whole time. But I cry at movies all the time. You know, reading The Road, I was in tears the whole time I read that book. So, but as a creator, it doesn't. No, I don't. I don't write. I don't. A lot of times, okay, as a consumer reader and, you know, devourer of content myself, like I cried every episode of Strange New Worlds.
Okay.
Except maybe the musical one. I'm that moved. Well, at least with season 1, I cried at every episode.
Wow.
But I'm not, you know, if I hit that mark with a reader or someone consuming the content that I create, that's great, but that's never my intention to move anyone. I'm not, I just want somebody to figure, yeah, I got my $8 worth. Thanks, Dan.
Gotcha. My sense has always been that if I laugh at the thing, someone else will laugh at the thing. If I cry at the thing I'm making, that's how I know it's working. If I have an emotional reaction to it, and I get the sense that that's kind of Harlan Ellison was his whole deal too. Was his whole idea was he wasn't there to enter. He wasn't there to serve the reader. He was there to shake the reader up. And I feel like I dig that. I don't know how that applies to role-playing games where we're not telling narratives, but we are creating tools that can be used for them to create their own narratives. So I think maybe that disconnect is a absolutely fine thing to have in a place where we're building hammers. You know, it's not like,
yeah, I'm not, I don't want to, doesn't make me a lazy creator because I don't want to shake things up.
No, I don't think so. I think some people don't want to be shooken up.
Exactly.
Some people just want to be like, I'm not a fan of roller coasters. You know, some people just want, can I just sit? I like a good bench.
Yeah.
You know?
And I like to, you know, it's a thing. It's more creating stuff is more of a thing that I've got to get out of my system just to get it out rather than.
Does that run counter to what you were saying a moment ago about you want to get it out of your system?
But I don't want to affect people. I'm not doing it to affect other people. I'm doing it to clear my own docket.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. You have a to-do list that is empty in some conceivable future state that is empty, and you add things to it, and you're not happy until you've checked off the things off that list. It's got to be out there. It's got to be made. People have to be able to react to it in some fashion, and you're happy if that's just giving you $10. They don't have to be moved emotionally.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's not my job or my place as a creator. I mean, to be honest with you, I create more as a self-indulgence. I mean, look at all my half-finished projects or ideas and stuff like this. It's more just, you know, and the 10 or 20 bucks I make on the side doing it is just, you know, sprinkles on the sundae for the most part.
That's great. That's great.
Again, I'm not using anything I create with Zero Level Media or, you know, my any other projects I've got in DM's Guild or Drive Through RPG or even Star Marshal's comic book. None of this is paying rent or putting food on my table.
Is that something you're okay with, or is it something that, because I know that again, I know we're going over time.
No, that's fine.
But there's like I get the sense that there's some people, like, I feel like every one of my Kickstarters made exactly as much money as it was supposed to make. But some people be like, okay, if it's not supposed to make money, if making money is not a measure, and to me, I can't say it isn't. You know, I want my projects to do better than my previous project, but I can't compare myself to Matt Colville. I can't compare myself to anybody, because ideally, if I'm doing something personal, I'm doing something unique, and that you can't compare apples and oranges. As long as I'm not doing other apples, I can't compare myself to Tim Cook. You know what I mean? It's like, as long as my thing is just distinctly stupid in my specific brand and my specific idiosyncratic way, then I can't maybe that's just ego armor. Maybe that's just me saying, okay, I can't, as long as I don't compare myself to anybody else, I can't feel bad about my performance compared to somebody else. It's not a phallus measuring contest. But I wonder about that, because I do think that there were some people who are like, I'm going to do this Kickstarter, and if it doesn't make 50 grand, you know, I'm a failure, that kind of thing. How do people, is it when you start a project, when you're launching these next two campaigns with using a system you're not familiar with, BackerKit, how do you go into it with expectations? Do you have expectations going in? If the goal isn't to make money, the goal is just to get it out there and to have a few copies left over.
Yep.
That's kind of it.
Yeah.
If I can get a few of these out there and have it. So there isn't a thing where you're like, okay, how about this? Do you go in with like, okay, if we break 10K, I'm going to make a sequel? Do you go in with that kind of if-then statement of, if we break 5K, I'm going to do a sequel? Because I have seen Kickstarters that have done that. If we break this goal, I'll do a sequel. That's a weird stretch goal, right?
I sort of did that with Star Marshal. I said, if Star Marshals gets funded, I'll work on an RPG based on Star Marshals. But I didn't make an official goal. I just said, let's do, you know, it'll encourage me to do that. But honestly, that's just because I'm working on RPG stuff anyway. I can do anything and just change the names. I love what I'm working on, and I've got all the art.
Already. I absolutely love that. Again, yeah, you said already have the artwork. You already have the IP. When you do the Kickstarter for the Star Marshals RPG, you already have an add-on.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much. You've got badges. You've got loot. It's already been made. You just got to go to Sticker Mule. 100 more, please.
Yeah. So, you know, and that's not a project that's on the top of my list or on one of the front burners right now. That's something, you know, when I get the time, I'll work on that.
Right.
Because that's not, you know, that's just that's again, when I create the person I'm most, this sounds dumb, but the person I might be most concerned about entertaining is me.
Perfect.
And if I'm having a good time, maybe somebody else out there has a good time. And that's why I don't try to set these lofty funding goals or anything. Because like with 420, I thought about setting it at $4,200.
Right.
No, that's too much.
Why not $420?
That's too little, you know. And I probably will drop it down to 420 just to do it. But as of right now, it's set at 1,420.
Excellent. Well, I like low goals. I like setting achievable goals just because it takes the pressure off. I say that now. The next one I do is going to have a higher goal. I talked about this like incrementally, hitting a single. I'm going to try to hit a double. I don't think my next one's going to do as well as Intoximancy or as Death Dealing. I think it's too weird.
Which did better, Intoximancy or Death Dealing?
Money wise, Death Dealing did better. Number of backers, Intoximancy did better. I think there was like Intoximancy had like 15 more people than Death Dealing. So it wasn't like, to me, growing the audience would have been more important than increased money. But part of the reason why Death Dealing did better is it had Intoximancy as an upsell. It had a card deck. It had 2 minis. So like if you want to go all in on Death Dealing, it was a much higher price than Intoximancy. So the next one's going to have less stuff. It doesn't have a card deck. It doesn't have 2 minis. It has a single mini. There's all these things which are going to make it so that to be all in on Metadomain, on Prayer's Handbook, is going to be it could bring in less money. But it also has Death Dealing and Intoximancy as a potential upsell. So I do think having my back stock, I'm staring at unsold merchandise, having that available is going to be a big deal, because the good news about us and all of us at our level, level 0, is that most people haven't heard of us. And that's a cool thing. So every time we run a campaign, we're going to find new people. You know, it's not like we're Oreos trying to convince people, I've never heard of that. What is this Oreo you speak of? You know, people either like it or don't like it. Whereas us, they don't know who we are. That's a huge potential, huge growth potential. And being this tiny, huge growth potential.
And you and I talked about it. I just want acceptance. I want to be D&D famous. And that's why I'm doing it, you know, for the most part. I'm not looking to create something amazing. I'm not looking to move anybody. I'm not looking to challenge any, norms.
Don't want to revolutionize. You don't want there to be the post Dan Taylor era and the well, how about
I want to have a good time.
And before we go, there was some news in the Catacombs and Comedians world.
Yeah, there's all sorts of a lot of news on Catacombs and Comedians. We've talked about how I'm going to spend this into this 2023 getting together more presence online. So the Catacombs and Comedians podcast, and I'm not going to worry about the stream right now because that's just too much production value, and it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just too much time. It's too much money. It's too much other people involved. It's like, if I had, live stream from people remote, I got to be concerned with what's in the background of their, camera setup,
right?
Their lighting condition, their, podcast is easier.
Yeah.
I can record it, edit it, boom, put it out. So the Catacombs Comedians Podventure Cast, and it took me 3 days at work standing there doing my job to try to come up with a title for it. Will be hopefully launching just after the first of the year. I've got a month and a half to put it all together. I've already got 2 of my comics lined up for that podcast. Elliot White and Brent Reed, both from my Huntsville team. And then I'm working on the other 2. I'm, vetting various comic talents. We're going to have a much more D&D knowledge base. So it's not, the game goes smoother and it's more entertaining. It's theater of the mind. It's all that. So that podcast is definitely coming out. I've got 2 comics confirmed now for the show at the Helium Comedy Club the night before Gen Con starts.
Excellent.
Tyson Cox, and who's based in Indianapolis and has his own monster D&D type comedy show. And then I'm bringing up Elliot White from my Huntsville crowd as well. So those 2 comic sets. I wish, and again, we're confirmed for Gary Con. There will be a show there. I don't have the talent for that because I don't know where I am at the schedule yet.
Right.
And I can't, it's hard to get talent to confirm to be a part of it.
Yeah. When is it? I don't know.
So I'm going to contact them this week. I go, look, I know you're not announcing, but if you've already got me slotted, can you let me know the time so I can try to get talent together for it?
Right.
Because that's kind of what I did with Gamehole Con. They let me know there. Well, this is the only spot we have open. So I knew, But actually, I had some talent. I had like Matt Forbick and John Kovalik before he dropped out. Had him, they were saying, "Yeah, we'll do it." So, luckily, it worked out for their schedules, and I was able, the other guys.
That seemed like a choice time.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I went for with this time too, except on a Saturday as opposed to a Friday. It was what I requested because I'm doing DMing regular games for regular folks Friday and Saturday morning, and that I figure if I'm DMing for 5 people at those tables each, that's at least 10 people I can get to come to the show later.
That's awesome.
So yeah, a lot of work on Catacombs, behind the scenes of Catacombs and Comedians this week, and in addition to everything else. So yeah. Anything? You're just cranking on metadomain, right?
Yeah. But with the added element of maybe cooking up the cover for my Zine Quest project. If that writer really, I don't know if that writer's work will move the needle at all, but I know what my Zine Quest project's going to be. So
and it's not going to be the meta domain. So this is
right. So it'll be something else. It'll be, but it needs a cover. So, and I'm still not thrilled with the cover of Meta Domain. I've done a bunch of versions of it. I don't want to scrap it. It would make a fine interior illustration for sure, but I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. I think it thematically works. I'm just not sold on the art. So I got to keep working.
Get a better artist.
If I could only afford one. And you already got the best piece of stock art there is for an RPG thing. I love that. I'm glad I didn't see that kind of travel artwork when I got started with all this. But my stuff is very much, 5e-ish in its style, but with my dumb filter. But yeah, I think we covered it all. We don't have any news.
We're gonna have to talk about the Dungeons and Dragons Adventure channel.
Have you watched any of it?
I haven't watched any of it yet.
I watched a bit of the cooking show. At first, I put on like, there was just banter, and I immediately hit the back button. I couldn't handle banter. After 1 hour and 7 minutes of banter. But then I watched a little bit later on. And I saw some of the cooking, and it was like halfling stuffed French toast. I'm like, go on. And I was really interested in that part. I did watch a little bit of Faster Purple Worm Kill.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That's okay. Based on this over here, Faster Pussycat Kill.
Yeah, it's fine. I feel like one of the reasons why I like watching it's absolutely a comedy show. It's absolutely people who aren't. The D&D part is like it's I don't know. It feels like a Catacombs and Creators wannabe. It feels like, I know it probably came chronologically first, but it feels like a lighter version of what you're cooking up, where there seemed to be modest audience interaction, but it didn't have the kind of, you push people right into the adventure in a way that a lot of people be like, this is railroad. Like I was telling a friend about this the other day, saying, what's it like? And it was like, you said, okay, come bring us everyone brings a character. None of us have coordinated our things. No one said, I'll be the healer, I'll be the tank. 4 characters randomly chosen out of the multiverse kind of contest of champions. You come in and say, okay, you're in the green room with your agent. I'm like, at the beginning of that sentence, none of us had an agent. But by the end of that sentence, we all had an agent. We all rolled with it. And it was like, in a lot of D&D games, it's a lot of how do you get people on the same page? How do you get disparate characters with various backstories? Half of them are Batman. Half of them are Rorschach, not wanting to talk to one another, going, Herm, I'm a solo character. My character sits in the corner, doesn't make eye contact with anybody. Everything's a one-word answer. You're like, okay, here's a situation, let's go. I felt like their show needs that. Here's a situation, let's go. And you put a fire under everybody in minute 1. And
because I don't have time.
No one's got time. And that show was like, let's get to the meat of this.
I got an hour and a half to get the adventure started, get the adventure, 3 levels of the adventure, and then get it all done. You know, you got your opening act, your middle act, and your headline act. And that's just
It was excellent. It was excellent.
I
But
just,
I felt like they didn't have that kind of I don't know. They never had that trial by fire the way you have. Trying to keep an audience room full of people excited. A lot of them are playing to the camera, which doesn't have a physical reaction, and you're playing to a room, and you know immediately if it's working or not.
oh, and trust me, I know immediately if it works, and you can see me panic when something's not working. And a lot of times I just move along, this next thing, boom, next.
Excellent.
But anyway, if you haven't checked out Catacombs and Comedians, if you're watching this and you're like, well, what the hell are they talking about? Catacombs and Comedians has a YouTube channel. A lot of the shows, not all of them, because I, just can't get them all video recorded, and some of them are better quality than other qualities, but you can check it out. And there's a podcast too, right, and still, of some of the live shows, the audio from the live shows. So that exists out there at catacombsandcomedians.com. And you can find it on, just look up Catacombs Comedians on any of the podcast things. And then we're going to have this new podcast, which is going to be podcast focused. It's going to, the narrative's not going to be that boom, let's go. It's going to be more story driven. It's going to, continue episode to episode to episode, because I don't have an audience that I have a room full of, 80 to 300 people to like I've ever had 300 people in a room. But I think 140 was the most we played. Wow. But so we'll be able to have more kind of how I originally wanted to do the show. And again, the players are going to know how to play D&D. So it's going to be, remember, we're not going to explain rules to the players who are on stage at the same time and do all that. But that, again, is part of the fun of Catacombs and Comedians. Yeah. I could tell when we did Catacombs and Creators at Gamehole Con, that the adventure moved a lot quicker, because there wasn't that explain the rules and let's tell me what that sort of thing.
And also a roll with it. There was a roll with it function of everyone at the table. They were like, they were such old hands at playing role-playing games. They're like, well, the dungeon master, every table's got house rules, and we don't know Dan's house rules. And as Dan tells them to us, that's how we're going to go.
You're not going to argue with me. Yeah. And a lot of things, if somebody came up with an idea and I had no idea how it would work, I would just say, roll.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if Matt Forbeck referred to his character sheet during the show, except for hit points. Yeah. Like it was like, I have this ability. I'm a cleric, right? I can do this. I can do something like that. And everyone's like, half of us looked at Perkins and we're like, can you do that? And he's like, I'm off tonight. So it was good. It was excellent.
I think everybody had a fun time, and I know I had fun. So
absolutely, you did great.
As long as Chris Perkins had a fun time. So I'm still waiting for that phone call, Chris. But anyway, yeah. So that was a long round. Again, there was other stuff I want to cover. I want to get more detail on Catacombs Comedian stuff, but that was good. We learned that I'm more of a hack creator than you are, because I don't give a shit about my audience.
Is that what we learned?
I'm not looking to move the needle.
No, you're a machine. You are producing so much stuff. I mean, it really is. It's like the idea of, well, no, you said like, it's not, you're not precious about it.
There you go. Yeah.
That's kind of there's probably a healthy balance there. There's absolutely healthy. There's people out there who are like, we know too many people who have never finished a thing because it's not perfect.
And there are so many creators out there. And again, I don't mean to bash on it. I'm just this is me, and there's other people, and everybody can do it the way they want to do it, and that's fine. But a lot of these creators shouldn't be so precious with their stuff.
What do you mean by I don't want to open a can of worms. What do you mean by that?
But they would get it out. They would,
Yes.
It would be done.
Done is better than
it's my best advice for somebody that, and I've always believed this. So I've got this great idea, but I don't want to put it out there because somebody will steal it. And I'm like, let them. That will prove that it was a good idea. And and that idea you have right now is not your best idea. You've got a better idea coming. I haven't done my best idea yet. So all the stuff that I put out right now is just building up to my opus, whenever or whatever that would be. So My family just got home, so now's a good time to sign off.
Sounds good.
All right. I will talk to you later, Steve.
Have a great week, Dan.
And again, everybody who joined us, thank you very much. And may you all make your saving throws.